Go. Page 15. Alright. We have 5x cubed minus 3x minus 7 minus 8x cubed plus 6x minus 2. So the only real difference in today versus yesterday is we have a subtraction sign in the middle opposed to an addition sign. Okay, so just watch for a second. Don't write, just watch. 5x cubed would combine with 8x cubed. But if you're subtracting them, 5 minus 8 is a negative 3. So there's negative 3x cubed. You could then combine negative 3x with positive 3x, but if you're subtracting, it would be a negative 3 minus a 6, which is negative 9x. And then negative 7 and negative 2 would be negative 7. Look, wouldn't that be a negative 7? Then a minus from there, and then a negative 2? So what happens there? Right. And so it would become negative 7 plus 2, which is negative 5. Okay. This is the problem. Just keep listening. I'll give you time to copy. This is the problem we see students have. They forget about this minus a negative becoming a positive. They end up just doing negative 7 minus 2 is negative 9. So, somebody decided a while back that you could do it like this. If you have 2 times x plus 5, what do you do with that 2? Right, which is called what? What property? Distributive. Don't you just do 2 times x is 2x and 2 times 5 is 10? Well, isn't there technically a negative 1 out here? So couldn't you distribute the negative 1 to that? Negative 1 times 8x cubed would make a negative 8x cubed. Negative 1 times 6x would make negative 6x. And negative 1 times negative 2 would make a positive 2, right? Once you've distributed the negative to everything that comes after it, it's like you've given it away, and now it's just addition, because you gave away the negative to everything. And now you just add them like we did yesterday. So watch. 5x cubed plus negative 8x cubed. Isn't that negative 3x cubed? And negative 3x plus negative 6x. Isn't that negative 9x? Negative 7 plus 2 is negative 5. So if you want to change it to an addition problem right away, you can. But to be able to do that, you have to change all the signs that came after it. That 8 became negative, that 6 became negative, that negative 2 became positive. Okay, so I'll give you a second to write this down, and then we'll continue to the next problem. Okay, well, we're about to do a lot more. So if you're still confused after we do about 5 or 6 more, let me know. Okay, we're missing just Brianna today. It's okay. Alright, now let's look at this next one. We're supposed to be subtracting them. However, I would prefer to add, because I just think adding's easier. Focus. So I'm going to change it to addition. But you can't just change it to addition, or that's creating a whole new problem, right? To be able to change it to addition, I have to change every sign that came after it. So that becomes a negative 7, that becomes a positive 5, and this one becomes a negative 4. And now I can work it out. 3x squared plus negative 7x squared is negative 4x squared. 5x plus 5x is positive 10x, and then negative 2 plus a negative 4 is negative 6. Remember, guys, you have a calculator, so type in exactly what you see. We see a negative 2, then a big plus sign, then a negative 4, negative 6. Okay, now that we have combined them, what's the name of this one? Yeah, it is quadratic because the highest exponent is 2. Trinomial because it has 3 terms. What is the leading coefficient? definition of a coefficient? Right, a number with a variable beside it. So how many coefficients do we have in this trinomial? 2. Negative 4 is a coefficient because it's beside an x. 10 is a coefficient because it's beside an x. Negative 6 is not beside a variable, right? So it's not a coefficient. What is it known as? A constant. The leading coefficient is the very first coefficient you get to as long as it's in standard form. What do I mean when I say standard form? Right, your exponents are in order from greatest to least. Let's see how that's an exponent of 2. This one is an understood 1. And then this one has no exponent at all. When your exponents are in order from greatest to smallest, that's considered standard form. Okay, so let's look at this next one. I don't like subtracting polynomials. I think adding them is easier. To be able to add them, though, what do I have to do? Change all the signs that come after it. This does not get affected, just everything that came after the minus. So it makes that a minus, it makes that a minus, and it makes this a plus. So now I have a 6x squared and a negative what x squared? 1. So you might want to write in the 1 so you don't forget what it is. What is 6 plus a negative 1? 5. Okay, then we have a 2x plus, 2x plus a negative 4x. Negative 2x. And then negative 2 plus 1. Okay, what do we name that one? Right, quadratic because its highest exponent is 2. That's known as quadratic. Trinomial because it has 3 terms. Is it in standard form? Yes, so what's its leading coefficient? 5. Okay, why don't you go ahead and try this next one by yourself before I go over it? Okay, what's the first thing you need to do? Right, I want to make this an addition problem, so to make that happen, I change all the signs that came after it. Okay, so now I combine like terms. 2y squared plus negative 3y squared is negative 1y squared, but you don't really have to write the 1d. It's understood. You can, but you don't have to. Negative 1y plus positive 1y is, right, you don't need to write 0y. You just don't write anything. And then 3 plus 4 is 7. What do we name this one? Quadratic binomial. Quadratic because the highest exponent is still 2, but binomial because we only have 2 terms because one of them canceled out. What is the leading coefficient? Negative 1. What is the constant? 7. Okay, go ahead and try these two. Okay, Samantha, what did you get for this one?
Well, y2 plus negative y. Oh, first I have to make all the plus, or change all the signs.
Okay, so this will become,
So you have to change the constant.
okay,
And y2 becomes negative y2. And that becomes a minus. And then that becomes positive.
okay,
And y2 plus negative y2 cancels out.
okay.
And y plus 5y equals 7.
But look, it's a 1y plus a negative 5y.
Oh, so it's 4y.
Negative 4y.
Negative 4y. And then 6 and 6 cancel out.
Right, so what is the name of it?
It's a
It is a monomial because there's one term, but what's its highest exponent?
1.
So that makes it linear, and the leading coefficient is negative 4, yes. You mean like right here or all of these? Because to make it an addition problem, you have to give that negative to everything that comes after it. Because you gave the negative away, so the negative's no longer here, you gave it all of them, so when there's no negative, it's obvious it's automatically positive. You're distributing it, and once you've distributed it, it's gone. So you fill it with a plus, because the negative's gone. Okay, William, tell me what to do first on this one. Okay, right. I want this negative gone. So basically, I'm giving it to that, which would make it negative. I'm giving it to this, which would make it positive, and I'm giving it to this, which would make it negative. Now that I've given it away, it's no longer here because I gave it away. So when there's no negative there, you fill it with a positive. Now when you combine them all, William, what'd you get? Right? So how do we name it? Monomial. And what's the leading coefficient? 6. Chloe, what's your question?
Will that always work like whenever like
Yes.
the left?
Yeah, anytime there's a subtraction sign outside of parentheses, you can distribute the subtraction to everything. And then it turns into an addition problem.
Well, like, so the first number will always be like,
Like this?
yeah, like that number will always be positive.
No, if it had already been negative, you would have made it positive. You just switch the signs. Like if it had,
But I'm talking about your little thing where like they would, I don't know, they would know what, right?
yeah, are you talking about like, say we had a negative and then on the inside the first number was negative?
I think subtract, you wouldn't be able to give it away.
Yeah, when you give it to it, okay, but when you give it to it, he already had a negative, right? So a negative negative makes it positive.
I think of it just like that, and then whenever it's over, it is plus sign. That's how I always thought of it.
Oh yeah, true.
You know what I'm saying?
It makes sense. She's saying like right here when she distributes, I think this is what she, oops, too big. I think, are you saying like when you draw your distribution line, it like goes through it and makes a plus sign?
Yeah.
Yeah. But what about if it's already positive, when it goes through it, is it like canceling out that line and leaving just a negative?
It just looks back over. I don't know. I was always done that for the problem.
Yeah. Yeah, but not right now for y'all.
I think you should be able to do some honestly. I don't know.
It's the same thing.
It's easier, like, I do.
Maybe it's just the second day, so you're feeling better about it. Like, I bet you if you went back to addition now, you'd be like, oh, this is easy, because now we've spent a second day on it. That might be what it is. Or maybe you just paid attention better today, because I moved you back to your seat.
But I think it's
Okay, let's look at this one. This is still subtracting polynomials. We're subtracting a trinomial from a trinomial, but I don't like subtraction. I would rather add them. Well, I can't just stop there. You can't just change the problem just because you don't like subtraction. To be able to make an addition problem, you change every sign. So like that was positive, it's now negative. That was negative, it's now positive. And that was positive, so it's now negative. Now I'm going to add them. 3 plus negative 2 is 1x squared. 5 plus 3 is 8x. And negative 2 plus a negative 7 is negative 9. How do we name it? QT, quadratic trinomial, and you got a question or do you want to answer?
yeah, why don't we put the
Because only what comes after the sign gets affected. Well, look, here was the minus sign, and then everything else came after.
So that wasn't in that, if it wasn't in like that format or whatever, the top line would come before the
Yes,
top line?
yes. This would be on the left, that would be on the right. Okay, what's the leading coefficient? 1. Okay, try those 3. Over them. Okay, I'm going to go ahead, just so I don't forget, and I'm going to put a 1 here. Okay, that way I know that's a 1 when I get ready to add or subtract. Now, I don't like subtracting them because then I might be confused about a minus and negative, and I might mess up. So, instead, I want it to be an addition problem. But to be able to make that happen, you have to change every sign. That negative that I just turned into a positive attaches to this and makes it a negative. It attaches to that and makes it positive, and it attaches to that and makes it negative. So now, what is 5a squared plus negative 1a squared? 4a squared. What is negative 2a plus 6a? 4a. And what is negative 8 plus negative 3? What do we name it? Right, quadratic, trinomial. What is the leading coefficient? 4. Okay, next one. I want to change it to an addition, but to be able to do that, you have to change every sign that comes after it. Right, so they all become negative because they were all positive. Right, 4 plus negative 4 cancels. Negative 3 plus negative 3, negative 6x. And then 2 plus a negative 6, what do we name it? Right, linear binomial. Linear because the highest exponent in it is a 1. Binomial because it's 2 terms. What is the leading coefficient? Negative 6. Okay, last one. I'm changing to addition, but that means I need to change the sign of everything that came after it. So, won't this become a minus 4x minus 2? 8x squared just drops down because there's nothing to combine with it. But then you want to add negative 8 and negative 4, which is a negative 12x. And then negative 3 plus the negative 2 is, what do we name it? Right, quadratic because the highest exponent is 2. Trinomial because it has 3 terms. And what's the leading coefficient? 8. Okay, you are going to do pages 16 and 17 for homework. The ones that you didn't do last night, you're going to do tonight. And I will stamp those tomorrow. During the remaining class time today, you are going to work on a worksheet I'm about to pass out.